Te pewe neo la kakoke o wahanunge kakikwe. Checha kokwa wenzu ane. Nilamita senia mi amikwea. I just said hello, it's good to see all of you here this evening. My name is Diane Hunter, and I am a citizen of the Miami tribe of Oklahoma, and I am honored to serve my nation as Tribal Historic Preservation Officer. Our younger siblings, the Peoria tribe of Oklahoma, were unable to send a representative here tonight because they had a conflicting meeting. And so as our younger siblings, they agreed that I could speak for them as well. The Peoria tribe is the inheritors of the Illinois tribes. And they are very closely related to us as Miami people. We speak the same language. They had a funny accent, but it's the same language. So what I want to do is talk a little bit about our history. You've heard two different histories, and I hope that as I talk, you'll kind of begin to see how these histories all intermingle and fit together here in Illinois. So I'm going to talk from our very beginnings as Miami, Illinois people, and a little bit about who we are today. Mitame, miamiake, nipangonje, sakachewechike. At first, the Miami come out of the water. That's the first line of our oldest story. It's the story of our emergence as a people. We emerged from, no, I can't. No, that wasn't, no, never mind. So this is our Miamiange, this is our land, the land of the Miami. We came out of the water on the St. Joseph River. It flows into Lake Michigan. Okay, there we go. All right, so here's St. Joseph River. And you see that south bend of the river? That is South Bend, Indiana. So somewhere between Lake Michigan and South Bend, Indiana, we came out of the water. We got out of our boats, we grabbed hold of branches and pulled ourselves onto the banks. And at that moment, we were Miamiaki, Miami people. We established a village there, and we lived there for some time. After a while, different groups started moving out into other areas. Several groups moved out into areas that are in Indiana today. But one group moved this way, moved into Illinois. And so those peoples, those communities, came to be known as the Illinois tribes, the Illinois people. But even those of us who were in what is now Indiana came this way for hunting, for trading. I think you're getting the idea that this was really good hunting grounds. And so we also came here to hunt, and as the Great Sauk Trail, it was there. If you're going to come this way, you're going to take the beaten path, right? So I'm pretty sure that we would have used the Great Sauk Trail as we came this way to do our hunting. In the mid-1600s, the Miamis who were in Indiana, or what is now Indiana, moved into Illinois and also up into Michigan and into Wisconsin. It was the Beaver Wars. The Iroquois were pressing west. They wanted to hunt beavers in our land, and they wanted us out of the way, or at least we thought we better get out of their way. And so we came into Illinois. And so during much of the latter half of the 17th century, we were here in Illinois. There are a lot of reports of us going up and down the Mississippi River, having villages along there, but also just moving up and down that area for trade and for other purposes. In the later 1600s, we lived some of us lived at the grand village of the Kaskaskia. And there were a number of tribes that were there. The Kaskaskias, who are now part of the Peoria tribe, Miamis, the Wees, who are also part of the Peoria tribe, the Shawnees, and a number of other tribes were all living there around what is today called Starved Rock. And again, the Great Sauk Trail goes by there. We would have been using that to come west again for trade. If we're moving up and down the Mississippi and we're at Starved Rock, we're going back and forth as well to interact with each other, to trade with each other, and also for the various kinds of hunting. So that would have been a lot of times, a lot of transporting through what is now Henry County. The Grand Village was, in fact, grand. I've heard different numbers about how many people. I've heard at least 10,000, but I've also heard as many as 18 to 20,000 people who lived there in the 1680s. And when we were used to normally maybe 200 people in a village, that's a really big city for us. So that was a different kind of environment there. I wanted to show you briefly the kind of housing that we would have had there. Generally, we lived in Wikiami, those at the top, and I apologize to my Kickapoo friends here. That Wikiami there is actually not Miami, it's Kickapoo, but ours looked like that. So this is the kind of house. Today we would call it a wigwam. We didn't live in teepees, we lived in these Wikiami. But the French commented they were very impressed with the number of longhouses that they saw, with a lot of families living in big homes. And so those would have looked something like these, the longhouses there in the bottom. And I wanted to give you an idea of what that might have looked like. In the late 1600s still, the Peorias, which were another Illinois tribe, now part of the, obviously, Peoria tribe, they moved to Pimitewick, which is modern day Peoria, Illinois. And that was also a really large city, probably as many as 10,000 people living there. So the Illinois people were very much a part of this area. In fact, during this time period, the Illinois peoples had great power. They were probably the most powerful group, the most powerful tribe in this area. They had a population explosion, many people among the Illinois peoples, many more Illinois than Miami at that time. And they were just powerful. They kind of had their way. They enslaved people from the Fox, the Pawnee, the Comanche tribes, because they needed somebody to process their bison that they had hunted. And so they were dominating at that time. After 1700, most of the Miamis, the Piankashaws and Weas, who had come into Illinois, were able to move back to our villages in Indiana. But we were still coming back for trade, for hunting. This was still all part of Miamianke. So this was all still part of what we considered our lands. And as you've been listening, you're going to say, but didn't the Ho-Chunk say that was theirs? And the Kickapoo said, and yes, we had shared territories, we had shared lands, and we understood that those lands were shared, especially hunting areas might have been shared, as long as we all agreed that they're to be shared. In 1712, the Illinois people, along with the Sauk and the Potawatomi and the Menominee and the Osages and the Missourians, fought against the Meskwaki. You may know that as the Fox Wars, 1712 to 1733. So I had did we get to the Meskwaki, to the Fox? We probably took the beaten path, right? So it's likely that the Great Sauk Trail, how do we get to the Sauk, the Meskwaki? We take the Great Sauk Trail. So that's very likely. In fact, if we had called it that, if we did call it that, it's probably because it was the path we took to get to them. But then mid-century, about 1752, there's a turning of the tide. The Fox, the Sauk, the Ho-Chunk, the Potawatomis all say we had enough of these Illinois people, and they attacked, and the Illinois were just decimated. I mean, they went from being this huge number of people to almost non-existent. Lots of captives were taken, many people were killed. The remaining Cahokia and Michigameas, who were both Illinois tribes, they fled to Kaskaskia or to Peoria or even to Pickawillany, which is in western Ohio. So they were done. There were just very few of them left. Why did that happen? Maybe because of the hunting grounds that they were controlling. Maybe because they not always behaved well, the enslaving and some of the other things that they did. I don't know. There is a legend, and I'm just saying this is a legend. I don't know that it's true. I'm not even sure I believe that it's true, but there is a legend out there that says that the Ottawas and the Potawatomis sieged the Peorias at Starved Rock. And that was supposed to be in retaliation for Peoria killing Pontiac, the Ottawa leader. Again, that's a legend. Not sure that it's true. It doesn't really appear in the literature till long after the fact, but there it is. In the early 1800s, the Illinois peoples and the Weas and the Piankashaws, these are all Miami, Illinois peoples, went west to get away, primarily to get away from American settlers. There was a lot of negotiation in many cases with the US government. They're ceding territory, as you've heard, but at that point, a lot of them just, we don't want to be next to the Americans. We want to be by ourselves, and so they went west. The Miamis, however, didn't want to leave. We were very happy to stay in Indiana, and we ceded land until we finally ceded the last piece of land in exchange for land in Kansas. And then in 1846, we were forcibly removed by gunpoint. We were loaded onto canal boats, which took us to Cincinnati, and then steamboats from Cincinnati to St. Louis, and again from St. Louis to Kansas City. Kansas City is kind of exaggeration. It was this little trading post at that point, the Kansas Landing. But that's where we got off the boats. We walked 50 miles south to Sugar Creek, Kansas. So at that point, the Illinois peoples, the Wea, the Piankashaw, we were all in Kansas. And the remaining Illinois people were the Peorias and the Kaskaskias. They and the Weas and the Piankashaws confederated into the Peoria tribe. There were so few of them that it seemed wise to confederate and make one tribe. We Miami remained the Miami tribe, and we all lived there in Kansas until after the Civil War, when they discovered, you know what, that's really good land. It's really good farmland. We want that land. And so once again, we were removed, not forced this time, but coerced, and we all moved to northeastern Oklahoma. And so today, the Miami tribe of Oklahoma and the Peoria tribe of Oklahoma are neighbors in Ottawa County, the northeasternmost county in Oklahoma. As you've heard from the others, we also are a sovereign nation, well, in this case, 2 sovereign nations. We have our tribal governments, and we are working hard to revitalize our cultures. We have a common culture, as I said, we have a common language, and many aspects of our culture are the same. And so as we revitalize, it revitalizes culture for both the Miami and the Peoria tribes. And we are revitalizing our language, we're teaching our language to our children. We are learning many things about our culture, revitalizing. If you see at the side there, that's an image of ribbon work. It's a Miami art, and we are learning how to do that again. And so we are a thriving people, as Miami, Illinois people, as the Miami tribe and the Peoria tribes of Oklahoma today. We are thriving. We have this history, and it's very, very important to us, especially because of being removed. The places where we've been are of even more importance to us. Our ancestors are the dust of this land. But we are not a people of the past. We are a living people with a past. You should know it.